So it's 2026 now, and I wanted to dramatically change the direction of this YouTube channel. So I started this channel back in 2024 when I really didn't know as much about woodworking as I do now. It's amazing what you can learn by doing things over and over for about 2 years now. Now again, 2 years is not a long time. I mean, I'm not comparing myself to anybody who has decades of experience, but in 2 years you can learn a lot. When I first started the channel, I wanted to have more of kind of like a faceless YouTube channel where it's just focused on music and making boxes and humidors and things like that. And then in July, when I started doing this a little more full time, I am retired now, and I dedicate pretty much every week to something with YouTube or something in my shop. So as I'm doing that, I've noticed that my audience is getting a little bit bigger, and people are commenting on videos, and especially the tool review videos. I find that people get a lot out of them. So I wanted to open up a little more to the audience and share a little more about myself. So I figured 2026, the beginning, I'd give you a tour of my shop. It's not as polished as some of the other ones on YouTube. I did clean it a little bit, and you're going to see that cleaning it really didn't help too much. But this is what I deal with every week. So I'm just going to take you around into my house and show you what I deal with. So quick about me, my name is Bill. Again, I am retired law enforcement. I'm a veteran, and I'm now doing this full time. So I'm a licensed home improvement contractor in the state that I live in. So I try to do jobs like moldings, wainscoting, things like that. I have years of experience doing actual construction and things like that. But when it gets into the fine woodworking and fine furniture building, I am learning that as I go. So my next project is going to be an actual piece of furniture for my home. It's going to be a bench for my dining room table. So that's something I've never done before. I'm probably going to do a video on that just so you can see how I go from the slab of wood with live edge all the way to the end. So real quick about the garage. It's a 2-car garage, but it's got the one door, 16 feet, I think, or 18, not sure which it is. But what I don't have is the split between the two. And with that, you lose 2 to 4 feet, depending on the garage. So it's a little bit of a smaller 2-car garage. This door, as hideous as it is, it's just wood with single pane glass that is broken. There's about that much of a gap, even with weather stripping. So all the cold air comes in here. So this place is an ice box most of the time in the winter and an oven in the summertime. And but this is pretty much my space that my kids will destroy every now and then. But I do what I can to keep myself productive in here. So the floor of my garage is probably the worst part about anything besides the draft that comes in from my old door. Can't really tell, but I mean, first of all, there's so much glue and stains all over the floor. But that slope going down to the garage is extremely steep. There. What is that? That's 2.5 inches, over 6 feet, roughly. So this is the most recent addition to my shop. It's the Grizzly 8-inch bench top jointer. I did a review on this about a month ago, and it's decent. Definitely you get what you pay for. The table is pretty decent. The cut is pretty good. This fence, as I talked about, is pretty much garbage. It deflects too much, but it does what I need it to do. And like I bought it for a particular reason, and it's been good for that reason so far. But if you're a commercial shop, stay away from this thing as far as you can. Because I need everything mobile in my shop, it's on a cheap cart that I made just from some OSB and some scrap plywood, so I can move it around. It doesn't really have a dedicated home. It's just wherever I can use it. Usually I'll bring it over to the dust collection when I use it, so it's a little closer, but it just kind of lives wherever I put it after I sweep up. So I don't have a dedicated miter station in my shop, mainly because the way the floor is sloped, and I also don't have a wall that I can put this up against. And the primary reason is because I need to take this to job sites when I go to work in someone's house. So this stand I bought from Harbor Freight for like $40, $50, and it's fine. It's, it's a Harbor Freight metal, and It's cheap, but it's got extension wings that go out. They raise up and down, and it's been fine. It's light, so it's not super heavy to move around. The saw weighs more than the stand, and it's a good saw. I'm sure that it's not a sliding, but it is compound miter. So a sliding would be nice to have, but when I bought this, I really didn't have that need for it. Maybe that's an upgrade down the road for me, but I don't use this too much for woodworking. I do use this for more contracting jobs that I do outside the shop. The one thing I did do is upgrade the dust collection. Shop Nation has that shroud that can go on the back of saws, and it's a much better dust collection. So you can hook it up to a festival or a shop vac or something, and it reduces a lot of dust. So I'm happy with that. I can actually do work inside somebody's house now without dust flying everywhere. So this corner is the abyss of my garage. This corner has always been the catch-all for throwing crap. I did clean it, so this is a lot better than it used to be. But in here I keep paints, finishes, glues, other household things, caulk, things like that. The problem is this garage is so cold, half the stuff is probably trashed by now. But this is a very scary place that I don't want to show you. But I need a better storage because of how cold this place gets. That's why I buy glue and finishes in very small batches, because I know they freeze and then they fail. So I need to find a better solution with that. But this was a makeshift shelf that was in the house when we bought it, and I just put plywood on and some hinges to make it an actual cabinet. Originally to keep the kids out of it, but they're old enough now that it doesn't really matter. And then there's just storage, trying to keep things out of the way. But keeping on point with things on carts, here's another makeshift cart that I made to hold my DeWalt planer 735. This thing's a beast. I got this from a buddy who was selling it for about $400 a couple years ago. It was only slightly used. It has the tables. It's good. I really have no complaints. The only thing that I'm starting to have problems with it now is there is a little bit of a rattle inside. I changed the blades, and I'm not sure why now. I've changed the blades many times, but now it's starting to rattle every now and then. So I don't know if I have to get this thing serviced or what, but this thing's pretty good. Like I said, I got the joiner because I was tired of making sleds, putting things through this, but it is nice having 12 inches, or 12 and a half actually with this, that you can plane things out. This thing produces a ton of chips. This thing, the blower on this thing is so powerful that you definitely need some type of collection. You can't just have it running in the shop. You'll be cleaning up chips for days. My dust collection bucket will get full pretty quickly just from planing things down with this. I did make some shelves to hide tools out of the way, and no, I am not super rich that I make my shelving out of walnut plywood. That was plywood I bought for a project for a client, and I didn't like the grain pattern in the veneer, plus the ply inside the wood was kind of cheap, so I bought new plywood, and then I had all this extras, so I'm not using it for any type of furniture, so I just started making shop projects out of it, and also my tool wall, which you'll see. So along this catch-all wall is another tool that's on casters. It's my bandsaw. This is a 13-inch bandsaw from Grizzly. It's the entry level, kind of a tabletop bandsaw, but I did get the stand so I can move it around rather than just trying to put it up on a bench. It's nicer to have it on wheels. It does decent. It doesn't really have any good resaw power. Like if you're trying to get through, it'll have like a 6-inch resaw capacity, but if you're trying to get through a piece of 6-inch walnut to resaw it, you're probably going to bog down, and it's not going to be a straight cut anyway. I mean, this fence is absolutely garbage. It's aluminum. It's only got the one clamp there, and it slides, but again, this thing was cheap. I think it was $300 when I bought it a couple years ago. The miter gauge is absolutely useless. I mean, this thing is cheap plastic with a tiny rail. It won't fit any aftermarket miter gauges. So changing the blade is a little wonky on this. It gets stuck here for some reason when you try to pull it out. This thing's all chewed up from how many times I try to take the blade in and out because I have a thinner blade for smaller cuts, but it gets all hung up in there. So it's, again, for what I need it for, I needed one level up from a jigsaw, and this does great for that, for the smaller pieces that I do. But again, you get what you pay for when it comes to these things. But it gets tucked away. I try to pull it out and use it as much as I can, which is not that often, but try to at least pretend like I have some value for my dollar. But it's a nice tool just to have in the shop in case you need it. So I have a makeshift clamp rack that I threw together when I was trying to organize my shop. I'm going to have to redo this because recently I just bought 35 12-inch clamps from Harbor Freight. So I'm going to have probably triple that when I'm done. I needed them for the class that I'm doing, so I got to find a good storage solution for them. But right now this has been fine. It's nice having clamps organized somewhere. In the past, I usually just had them lined up against the wall, and that just becomes a mess. So dust collection was a huge upgrade that I did in my shop this year. And I did a video on this one and how I made the Cyclone in I think one of my shorts. But I saw a video of somebody make the Cyclone with the exact same thing. I don't remember who it was that did it specifically, but this has worked really well for me. The one thing that I did, which I'm not overly thrilled about, is I bought this adapter from Rockler. I'll show you on the table saw of all the adaptions I had to make this work on the table saw, and this will work on my jointer. But I have to take it off to put it on my planer. If not, I have to do the same thing I did for my table saw, and it's just adding pieces on pieces on pieces to get this thing to work. So this works fine. It's a quick connect, but honestly, that can be a quick connect too, which I've come to find out. So I don't necessarily recommend or not recommend these. I mean, if you feel like buying them, go ahead. But hindsight, I probably wouldn't have spent the, I don't know, 40, 50 bucks I spent for everything, trying to get everything adapted. But this works really well. The suction on this is really good for my table saw. Jointer works really well. The planer, not so much, because the planer motor is actually, I think, has more horsepower than this thing does. So this actually expands a little bit when the planer's on, but it does collect most of the chips. You will have a lot of dust and other things that are flying around here that you have to clean up, but it's way better than what it could be. Again, I do have a review on this if you want to go check it out. For 250 bucks, this is pretty good. I do want to get the filter for this because this thing, I have to empty this a lot, so I'm not sure how the filter makes it any better because this collects a lot of chips. So that would mean to me that the filter is going to get clogged pretty quickly. So I already have one intermediary collection. I don't know how that filter would work. So either if you have that, leave a comment. Let me know how that works compared to that bag, or maybe I'll get one and do a review on that. One thing that I did add that makes this so much nicer is I got this remote switch off of Amazon. So much nicer than coming over here, flipping it on, going back to the table saw. Literally, the remote stays on my... Works really nice. I mean, it's a couple steps, but it's all about efficiency and getting things done. Yeah. So, yeah. I have a 2-car garage, and this is the equivalent of 1 car. So I don't know what to do with most of this. To be honest with you, most of it's probably going to get burned. There's only so many cutting boards you can make. I mean, I'm going to go through this and probably just batch out a ton of cutting boards, but this is going to be for a project. I'm making a bench for my dining room, so I have this allocated. A lot of these were just scraps that I had left over from a lot of the holiday projects and stuff that I had done. So I got to go through these and sort out what's usable and what's not. But this is what I'm dealing with right now. It's on 2 sawhorses with plywood just so I can keep it manageable. But you know, plywood scraps I normally don't keep around, but I'm still building my tool wall, so I wanted to have as much as I can until I'm done with that. You know, here I've got some burl pieces and other things that I got to figure out small projects to do with. I did start getting rid of all my home construction lumber because that was taking up a ton of space, and I really don't have the need for 2x4s just sitting around the house. I've got plenty of those in another spot. But this is all, a lot of these are cutoffs that I don't even know if I would ever use because they have knots and other things. So a lot of it can be a burn pile for the solo stove. But this is one of those things that I stare at every day and go, yeah, I don't feel like dealing with that today. So maybe one day. So 2 huge additions I've done to my shop right at the end of the year were getting a new table saw and building an outfeed table. So one of the biggest problems I had in my shop was I never had a flat level surface. I'm never going to have a level surface in my garage, but I finally have a flat surface. And adding a cast iron table saw to this just made things so much better. I was working on a contractor saw that was on the cart that I actually had my jointer on. So, you know, when it's on a little cart like that, you don't have the stability that you want. And I ripped through, you know, live edge stuff, and it gets kind of scary. This thing was a huge upgrade. I did a full review on this and a 1-month upgrade video on this. I will say after using this thing for 4 months now, I like the saw even more. So I gave it a little bit of a hard time when I first did a review, but I finally got the fence dialed in perfectly. The cast iron is great, and the only thing that's slightly little bothersome is these 2 bolts slightly rub against the fence when I move it, but I'm okay with that. The other thing I kind of bashed was this miter gauge when I first made the video. I've been using this more and more because what I found is this one I keep on the left side of my fence, and it's right where I need it to here. Rather than taking it off and adjusting, if I need to make a cut on this side, I just break this one out, and it's just a lot quicker. So I think table saws just take a little time getting used to before you actually like them or not like them. So 4 months it took me to get this thing dialed in nicely. I know how much power I need to get through wood. I know what blade I need to change to, so it was basically just growing pains. This is a decent saw. It's on sale for $100 less than what I bought it for now, which really kind of annoys me. But it's in the middle of my shop here, which causes one minor problem is I need an extension cord to plug it in. I have to walk around the shop plugging in a tool, taking my dust collection, do that, work with the tool, take the dust collection off, go back to another tool, replug it in. Now, before someone says to me, you can't use an extension cord on a table saw, this gauge wire is the same gauge that's in my wall. This is 12 gauge wire. It's meant for a 20 amp circuit. This is fine. So there's no difference between running the 20 amps in the wall or an extension cord. So you can. I've had no problem with this. The outfeed table, I built that. There's a video on me building that thing. It's just 2 butcher block countertops that I bought at the store and built a frame out of some scrap 2x4s and put casters on it. And it's worked out great. It's perfectly flat. I just put lacquer on it the other day, so now when I glue things up, I don't really have to worry about glue sticking to the table. Yeah, this thing's pretty good. So before I talked about what I had to do to adapt dust collection to this, the Quick Connect. So you buy the Quick Connect, and then you can buy these hose ports. But the problem is the hose port clicks onto that, but this is the same size as most of the ports that are coming out of tools. So I had to buy another 4-inch rubber piece to click onto that so I can use that. It's a little ridiculous. I don't know why this was so much larger than most of these, because this is the same size as the DeWalt planer. So you need all this extension just to fit this thing on. So again, I don't necessarily recommend this. It would have been easier just to have this slide right on the port. This is my drill press. It's underneath my workbench next to the door. The reason why it's here is because I never use it. And the other reason is I'm not going to dedicate a bench for it because I never use it. The reason why I have this drill press is because my father bought a drill press, used it once, and then realized he didn't need a drill press, so he gave it to me. I will suggest if you buy a drill press, you don't buy it from Harbor Freight. Those Bowers, they're absolutely useless. I owned one for 5 minutes and then had to return it. But yeah, this is my drill press. My recommendation is you probably don't need a drill press either. So this is the tool wall that I started building maybe 2 weeks ago. It's French cleat style. I just started building holders for most of my hand tools that I need on a regular basis. Like I said before, it was the crummy walnut plywood that I already had broken down for some different projects, but didn't like it, so I decided to rip it into French cleats for this wall. I used to have just a 4x4 sheet of plywood up here with French cleats on it, and it looked ugly, so I decided to do 6 feet pieces that I had, and just make it a little more aesthetically pleasing. Is, again, it's relative, but for me this works fine. I still need to do a bunch of things for, like, my drills and other tools like that I use on a regular basis, but right now it's getting there. It's a work in progress. So this is what I call the woodworking side, and then over here on the pegboard, I just consider that like the home tools, screwdrivers, hammers, wrenches, things like that. This is where I do most of my video editing, website stuff, anything that's work related. On a computer, I sit here in the morning and watch some morning news, and then drink coffee and do some morning work. I don't really do a lot of assembly stuff. My son usually winds up taking over the workbench, and this is the cleanest it's been in a long time. So he's got a 3D printer over there, and he just, if I didn't tell him not to touch this computer, he would have this thing apart in about 5 seconds. So he just loves doing electronics. So I use that probably not as much for woodworking as I do the assembly table. The other problem with this, and I debated whether to build something like this, was this end is 36 inches off the ground because of the slope in my floor. That end is 42 inches off the ground. So this side is, the counter side. That side is where I keep the laser printer, not the laser printer, the X-Tool laser. The heck's that thing called? The X-Tool, the laser cutter. And then he's got a 3D printer, like I said. I barely ever used that X-Tool thing. I bought it. It was on sale as a refurbished one when I started thinking I was going to be selling a lot more cutting boards and personalizing things. I do that for winter farmers markets, but it's not really part of my everyday thing. The one I have is the 5-watt, and it's not that great. It'll print something decent enough to put on a cutting board, but I'm not doing commercial cutting with that kind of thing. Because it's so cold in here all the time, in the wintertime, I did have to install an infrared heater. And then I have another one over here that I keep on when I'm just at my computer. This kind of helps warm up the table a little bit. I mean, it's 21 degrees outside right now, and in my shop right now it's probably bumped up to about 50, but when I came out this morning it was 42. So this helps a little bit, but you have to pretty much be directly underneath it. If you have a little shop, I got this off of Amazon for like $100. It's actually pretty good. The only problem with that is plugged into my 20-watt amp or 20 amp circuit that I use for the table saw. So when I'm doing heavy cutting or things like that, I got to shut this off. This way I don't trip a breaker. Down here, I just have a compressor and then the air hose that I have if I want to do things in the garage easily. Then I've got the other hoses that I can disconnect and bring this around mobily if I need it. I do have a lathe. I got this free from a buddy at work, and then he got it free from somebody else. I have yet to use it because it's large, and I don't plan on turning a lot of things. I have a colleague in town who does turning professionally, so if I ever need something for a job, I'm most likely going to hire him rather than mess up my own stuff. Power washer, and then just junk from my son. But yeah, this is the garbage corner. So that's a little bit about me and what I call my shop. If you've watched any of my videos in the past and haven't subscribed, I'd be really grateful if you did subscribe. It helps the channel. I'm really trying to grow this channel this year and see what I can do. And I really want to bring some of that beginner information to a lot of beginning woodworkers, either to inspire them or just maybe give a tip here and there for something they may have not known. I mean, when you're woodworking for so many years, you don't realize that, hey, somebody starting out may not know how to use a table saw, or know what kickback is, or I don't know. But there's always beginning information to get out there and share, and that's what I really want to do with this channel, along with visually entertain some people with some of the projects I do. So thanks for watching if you made it through, and I'll see you in the next video.